Hi, Sue, it's Roxy. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me now? Anything now? How about now? Testing? Testing? Testing?
Yes, we can hear you, Sue.
Oh, great.
Okay, we're going to start the meeting at 7:05. I'd ask everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Dave Calvecchio will make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Matt Benomer, second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any members of the public who wanted to address the board? There is no one here present who wanted to address the board, and we did not receive anything in writing, so we will move to the approval of the minutes.
Dave Calvecchio will make a motion to accept the regular Board of Education meeting minutes dated November 8th, 2021 as presented.
Matt Benomer, second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
Dave Kalvecki will make a motion to accept and approve the special board meeting of the Board of Education minutes dated November 17th, 2021 as presented.
Matt Van second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, moving on to our student or our recognitions. Our first recognition is our Rotary Student of the Month for December, Julia Papriki. I believe we have the video from her Rotary speech.
For you guys. I would like to start by thanking the Rotary Club and the administration at Thomaston High School who selected me to earn the title of Student of the Month for December. I'd also like to thank all my teachers throughout the years at Thomaston, along with the teachers who have undoubtedly made an indelible mark on my life. Without them, I would not have been able to work with all the opportunities I have been able to enjoy. Most importantly, I'd like to thank my family, specifically my parents, for making all the difficult decisions they had to make so that my sisters and I would get the chance to live our dreams despite their dreams being short. Ever since I came to Thomaston, I was looking for more opportunities that I could ever imagine. My parents always taught me that it's better to try new things than to not try anything at all. That is my motto that I carry with me throughout life, and it's the reason why I'm so in so many clubs and sports. I'm the first to jump at a chance to learn something new. Clubs and sports like soccer, indoor and outdoor track and field, student council, Interact, Sage, and NHS rank amongst the highest rated and very well-established clubs that I participate in. My participation in the Women's Tech Club is also makes the list of my biggest accomplishments, and this club is one that I established myself junior year. And while I was nervous about the club falling through after only starting with 10 girls, I still continued my work with it. This year, my club has 31 aspiring women in STEM, and I could not be more thankful for that. Along with that, I've held many officer positions, being soccer captain this year, student council president, Interact vice president, stage secretary, and NHS secretary for the Women in STEM Club. While this may seem like a lot to do, amongst the challenging coursework I've adopted in holding a job, my dedication to all my clubs is never and never will falter, and I hope to pursue similar clubs in the future. All the things I've done as a student at Thomaston High School has been for the betterment of my future and others. My hope upon graduating from Thomaston High School is to attend four-year college majoring in either chemistry or nursing on a pre-med path, but also minoring in Japanese language, American Sign Language, or theater. Career-wise, I've been dedicated since the first grade to a medical field and never once did I question pursuing another career field. My dream, the desire for a specialty have always been centered on me attending medical school and going into the medical field. Because of this, I've attended many workshops and education opportunities. My favorites being a medical education trip in Boston, a Women in STEM Goes Red at an American Heart Association event, where my essay on the accomplishment of women in STEM earned a spot in the top 20 essays in Connecticut, and a workshop for inspiring women in STEM led by an accomplished surgeon at UConn Health who helped me fall in love with orthopedic surgery. Funny enough, I did not expect to see this surgeon again in my future, but the world works in funny ways. After a life-changing injury to my knee that stripped my final soccer season away from me, the surgeon, Dr. Carney, who I based my career path on, would be the one completing my ACL meniscus surgery. While I thought I could not be any more sure of wanting to become an orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Clay somehow made my love for that specialty come true. All of my life experiences have led me to being in this room right here and with the people around me, and I'm thankful for that. For the good and the bad that keep pushing me to keep going. Again, I thank everyone for this recognition, and I hope to continue inspiring myself and others around me to be the best versions of themselves.
I apologize that it was not clear
very well for Julia's speech, but Julia is a very accomplished young lady who serves as Secretary of the National Honor Society. She is on the Connecticut Association of Student Council's Executive Board. She's on Interact Stage and Student Council. Before she hurt her knee, she played soccer and does track and field. She is employed in many different jobs, has won many educational awards, and hopes to pursue a career in medicine with the hopes of becoming an orthopedic surgeon. So congratulations to Julia. Now we will recognize the November Students of the Month. For those of you that are here, when your name is called, you can come on up to the stage, please. For kindergarten, Zoe Michaud. Grade 1, Ezra Dobos. Grade 2, Isabella Van Ormer. Grade 3, Owen Dobos. Grade 4, Aiden Wood. Grade 5, Spencer Dobos. Grade 6, Tala Kursic. Grade 7, Bo Kazashevsky. Grade 8, Jackson DiDonato. Grade 9, Emily Morton. Grade 10, Katerina Koloku. Grade 11, Daniel Guerrera. And grade 12, Ashley Guerra, who was the November Rotary Student of the Month. Our next award winner is Emma DeRogers for the Celebration of Young Photographers winner. ASAP's 11th Annual Celebration of Young Photographers in-person event took place on November 14th at the Bryan Memorial Town Hall in Washington Depot. Over 300 photographs from 27 schools across the state were submitted. This event featured the top 60 photographers. Emma DeRogers, ninth grader at Thomaston High School, was one of the top 60 photographers selected. The title of her photo is "The Goal is the Goal." Just a little background on the ASAP program. When the organization was initially founded 22 years ago, ASAP stood for After School Arts Programs, Inc. But the organization is veering away from the after-school and arts-only identity as an organization. They have shifted their main focus to in-school programs, and they are an educational organization that infuses arts into all subjects. ASAP is an arts-infused education organization whose hands-on programming fosters awareness of how the arts, humanity, and learning are interconnected. Emma, on behalf of the Thomaston Board of Education, congratulations. Our December Staff Spotlight Award goes to Pam Nascimento, the literacy coach at Thomaston Center School and Black Rock School. Pam Nascimento serves as the K-6 literacy coach for our elementary schools. She began her teaching career here in Thomaston in 2002, where she taught third grade for 15 years. Pam has served as team leader, instructional leadership committee, team mentor, and many other districts committees. She held the unique distinction of being Thomaston Public Schools Teacher of the Year in 2017. In 2018, we decided to capitalize on her expertise to train and coach other teachers in her new role as literacy coach. Pam is an invaluable resource in our district. From mentoring new teachers, organizing school programs, and improving classroom instruction, Pam is a well-rounded educator. She's a teacher's teacher whose expertise in classroom pedagogy, curriculum, routines, and structures enhance the learning experiences of all our students. Pam is always willing to go the extra mile for students and colleagues, and she coordinates interdisciplinary activities for our students. She also collaborates with organizations outside of the Thomaston Public Schools to support our students. For example, she has been coordinating monthly library trips to the Thomaston Public Library for Center School. Pam is always willing to help and is a team player both at Center and Black Rock schools. I am honored to work with her and know that our students benefit greatly from her educational knowledge. Mrs. Nascimento lives in Watertown with her husband Roger and 2 children. Outside of school, you can find her with her children in extracurricular activities and taking family camping trips to her favorite summer destinations. Congratulations. Our next award is the CABE Communications Award. CABE sponsored the 46th annual Bonnie B. Carney Awards of Excellence for Educational Communications Contest. Categories include social media, going green, newsletter, annual report, district report, parent-student handbook, course selection guide, calendar, special project AV, computer-generated project, and website. Effective communications with parents and taxpayers is a very significant part of our school district operation. It is important for the community to be aware of the exciting activities and events taking place in our schools each day. This award was named after Bonnie B. Carney. Bonnie was the Senior Staff Associate for CABE for 47 years. Bonnie passed away unexpectedly on September 8th, 2017. Bonnie was an integral part of the CABE family. One of Bonnie's many roles was to organize the CABE Journal. Often working behind the scenes, she carefully reviewed each piece that was submitted. Her editorial judgment was keen, and in many ways, she was an unseen voice of CABE. Superintendent Cross was notified at the end of October that Thomaston School District had won a Bonnie B. Carney Award of Excellence for Educational Communications Award. Awards will be mailed to the superintendent's office. The winning entry was submitted by Mr. Jonathan Koslak. Mr. Kozlak submitted the 2021-2022 Parent-Student Handbook on behalf of the Thomaston Schools Administration. Mr. Gianni Perugini created the template for the handbook, and the three building principals, Kristen Bernier, Jonathan Kozlak, and John Perucci, added to the specifics of their respective buildings to the handbook. On behalf of the Thomaston Board of Education, Mr. Kozlak, Mrs. Bernier, Mr. Perucci, and Mr. Perugini, congratulations on your hard work. Please come to the stage. While we appreciate the audience that we have here this evening, we do understand that it is a school night and younger children need to be in bed. So if you would like to leave at this time, please feel free, and we thank you for coming and letting us honor your children. So the CABE Board Recognition Award. The CABE Board Leadership Program was created in 1998 to recognize excellence in the leadership activities of local boards of education. CABE believes that boards of education and superintendents which exhibit the most effective leadership are characterized by their ability to work together as teams. The CABE Board Recognition Awards are designed to recognize boards which work effectively in this manner. The Thomaston Board of Ed was recognized at the 2021 CABE CAPS Convention on Friday, November 12th for winning this award. The CABE Award will be mailed to the superintendent's office and be engraved with a plate that will be added to the plaque currently in the conference room, which consists of engraved plates for the same award earned by the Thomaston Board of Education since 2015. CABE was truly appreciative that Thomaston keeps their students at the center of policy and decision-making during this most challenging year. Congratulations, members of the Thomaston Board of Education. Your prayers have been answered. Yeah. Cupcake. Everybody else will get yours after the meeting, unless you want to chew on it while we're listening. Okay, so that concludes the many recognitions of excellence that we have in our district for this evening. And we are moving on to our presentations, and we are welcoming Sheila McKay from McCabe, who is the Senior Staff Associate for Government Relations.
Okay, thank you for having me. I just gave you an understanding of issues that are coming forward. These are not ones that we are ordaining in any way. These are ones that are just coming forward. Some of them are priorities, but not all of them, I guess is the best way to say it. So HVAC, I'm sorry, Sheila McKay, Senior Staff Associate for Government Relations at CABE. The HVAC issue. The CEA has been forward on this issue. It's been in the news in terms of them asking for money for a grant, for bonding grants. And that money, the first ask was denied. The person that they asked that of is just happens to coincidentally no longer be in that position. Separate issues. So I think they have another opportunity to ask, of course. And at a separate meeting that I listened to remotely on school construction priority list, which they have to have every year, a school construction list, there was a little bit of, I would say, positive energy on that issue. By no means decided, but it was nice to have a positive thread on that issue. Social emotional learning, not new, certainly not new. And CABE has looked at this in a couple different ways, and certainly ways in which that in the schools, teachers, administrators are given professional development, provide professional development opportunities for teachers inside and outside of classrooms. But we're also wondering, not even wondering, we also know that there are opportunities that the district you can't do it all, and you shouldn't be expected to do it all. So often the schools are making referrals to outside of the school district into the community, and in the community they are finding that there are not enough school psychologists and mental health professionals. So we're talking with the leadership at the legislature about opportunities for mortgage assistance, housing assistance, loan forgiveness for college work and degrees and so forth, to get more people to more people to be a part of the mental health profession. This is not a quick fix, but it is a pipeline issue because you don't have the outside resources that you need when you go to make referrals, but the school district personnel goes to make referrals. Special education, again, not a new issue. Can somebody?
This is for the same course for those of you that are listening at home. I'm sorry about technical microphones.
Special education. So
dollars for the stories. Certainly can't talk to specific stories, but narratives as to how this is impacting the country would be very helpful.
Sheila, I just want to make sure that people can hear you and that they hear this point especially because we're going before the Board of Finance tomorrow about this very issue, about how much of that excess cost money should come to the Board of Ed and how much will stay at the Board of Finance side. And it's really, there are a lot of other factors that go into it. But minimally, one of the things that we grapple with every year when we create our new budget is guessing that percentage that they're going to give us. So that percentage has varied, and we have budgeted as low as 50% trying to be conservative, and then we've also budgeted as 75% based on trend. Last year, we received about 79%, which is unheard of. It's very unusual to be so high. So it would be a minimum if we would get the legislators to listen, if they would listen to at least giving us a guaranteed percent if they can't give us a low cap, just so that we can make proper plans, because we know that there's also the other factor of funds moving in and out of the district that might shift the dollars anyway. So it's important for those that are listening at home. We have a good viewing audience of about 200 people. So it would be good for them to understand that what we're doing will benefit the taxpayer because we at least have either more predictability or more stability in our budgeting.
if someone comes in from Middletown High School in October and they go back in January, they're in this stage level, and they're a senior, are they graduating from Middletown High School? Or they're graduating from the state of graduating from the state remote high school? How are they getting their school education requirements? How transferring credits? How are we counting? Probably holding teachers accountable in a remote situation. What credentials would they have? There are numerous issues to work in terms of how this program will be set. I think Virginia's is a program of the State Department of Ed, and Florida's is a offshoot high school that is affiliated with the state. States that are probably doing this have made different changes, have made different. They have to make from the existing.
Sure, this is Francine Clark speaking. What is the difference between what this is talking about and what is being obligated of high schools for remote learning, specifically 9 through 12? I thought there was legislation that mandated 9 through 12 in a separate direction that has to be moved along by next year.
That's true. So maybe my example of saying graduate from high school or state high school is different, but if you're a fourth grader, how do they know you completed all of your work and move up to fifth grade? How are they holding the English teacher accountable for fourth grade? How is that happening? How many do they have to hire? What if you don't have as many students? How are you moving those people around if they are not moving from, Jones Elementary School to Smith Elementary School, only State Elementary School? You don't need all of that. You like employees or more issues.
Yeah. Sheila, thank you for coming again. We appreciate you taking the time out to come out here and talk to us. But in looking at social emotional learning and children's needs, let's get to the elephant in the room. Mask mandates, and I know some boards of education, support the mandates, some don't, and I don't want to get into the politics of it all. But where do you see that going in February? Are you getting any sense that maybe the governor will lighten up on the restrictions, since it appears that sports is starting to lighten up a little bit, and members of the Board of Education don't want to wear masks anymore either. So where do you see that going? Are you getting feeling any trends? Let's put it that way.
Just getting through. That's what I.
So Sheila, I just want to make sure that it's clear to the board, if the governor's executive powers were to expire and not be extended, then all of his executive orders would expire along with that, and the only way to continue any of those executive orders would be to legislate them through the legislature. Is that correct? So if there's a mask mandate, for example, and it's not legislated, then it would fade away on that last day of the governor's executive powers. So that, whether they take no action or some action, either they're taking action as I said is to extend his powers, and then he chooses, or they choose to do nothing and his powers expire and they choose to make a law, or they do nothing and all of his executive orders go away, which could include a bunch of other things besides mask mandates. Okay, I just want to be clear so that the board understands that once those executive rights are pulled from, once they expire or not extended, then the legislators have to take some kind of action or do nothing, and then everything just expires if they do nothing.
Well, since we were elected to exercise, our best judgment for the people of our town, we would appreciate to have the ability to make our own decisions once again. Okay, so I'm going to I'll ask another question. Sorry. School building funds and that sort of thing. Are most school building funds not being used? I remember a couple of years ago I asked this question, and probably like 50% of the money that was allocated for school improvements and stuff was ever used. So are those numbers steady as far as
The school bond funds?
yes?
I think the school construction unit, is going through some challenges in terms of not doing it, but they're having a official, but the board in terms of the chart. I know they're looking at creating more of a uniform process for new builds. I don't know how much work they're doing in putting a lot of that. I don't know how much work they're putting into run these, and what changes they can make to that. Renegates, many years ago was allowed to consider some safety issues. And I know they've added more things to that in the last couple of years.
One more thing just for you, the cost of oil has obviously gone way up recently. And that could pose a budgetary problem for not just our school, but every school district. Let's face it. So, any, leftover building funds, maybe they would consider putting into an oil fund for cities and towns like us to help defer the cost and try to keep taxes as low as possible.
There is the ability in each school district to put together a reserve fund of 2%.
Well, yes, but that has to be used on education,
Yes, it would have to be designed
which isn't oil.
not educational needs, and they're gonna be able to run the building, so there's not I don't recall there being specific saying academic. And I know that, one of the caveats is it must be approved by the local, finance committee, so it's not necessarily there's a loan just established, it must go through.
We have the 2% account, but that's a whole another battle, as my colleagues are giggling about over here. But thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sheila. Appreciate you coming out. Okay. Moving on to our next presentation, we have the district improvement plan with our administration team. This is Roxy Finer. We are experiencing technical difficulties again, so please bear with us.
Okay, maybe that one was working. Okay, good evening. Along with my fellow administrators, would like to present a revised Thomaston Public Schools Strategic Improvement Plan. We will present on various areas of the plan and hope that it is clear, focused, and most of all, brief. Thomaston Public Schools strives for the strategic improvement of teaching and learning. That is our business. Through the development of a strategic improvement plan, the district articulates broad objectives focused on increasing student achievement and strategically develops specific, annual, data-driven goals and action plans in pursuit of these objectives. The district's improvement plan is aligned to the district's mission statement and is reflective of the district's core beliefs. The objectives, goals, and actions within the plan correlate with the district's theory of action and provide a critical guiding lens through which important decisions are considered, including personnel development, resource allocation, and budget formulation. And so we're not going to read through the whole plan. I just wanted to give you a backdrop on what this strategic improvement plan does. And each of us will present on our own department. So starting with Miss Andrea Peters, she will go to page 3, Sue Sandavasi. I think it's page 3, next page. And she will address goal number 1.
Hi, good evening, everybody. So our district objective is to improve students' abilities to problem solve and think critically. The district goal is all students will demonstrate growth on mandated standardized mathematic assessments. So I'm just going to go briefly over some of our action steps that we've determined and where we are in terms of our evidence of success. So the first one was to update the school-specific look-for forms. And we've accomplished this. September 2nd, we updated those look-for Google Forms. The second one is to implement the classroom look-for based on our district definition of grade level expectations for critical thinking and problem solving. We also are implementing a co-teaching look-for independent of the critical thinking and problem solving look-for, which was based on our CIRC checklist that was provided to us through our co-teaching training. And the evidence of success for this is data from the look-for forms, as well as data from the co-teaching look-for Google Forms. And this is, the end date is basically the end of 2022, June 14th. Jessica is going to speak to the next action step.
Just before we go to the next action step, would you just give a quick definition of what a look-for form is? Yeah, just going to do that as she was talking. So we developed, I believe my predecessor, along with the administrative team, started developing the look-for form. And it's basically says exactly what it is. What are we looking for when we go into the classrooms? And so using their problem of practice, which came out of instructional rounds, they decided to focus in on problem solving and critical thinking. And so we have approximately 10, 11 questions, 11 look-fors that, and to give you an example, so we're looking for students to be thinking critically on their own, independently. That would be one example. And if they're doing it with peer support, we have a checkbox for that. If they're doing it with teacher support, we have a checkbox for that. So it's very clear, concise with every single item that came out of our problem of practice. Is that clear? Okay, so along with that, every 2 weeks, I meet with Mr. Perugini and Mr. Perucci at the high school, and we talk about the data that's coming out of the look-for form. So we're not just filling it out, we're actually analyzing our data and seeing where are we seeing our students reach our depths of knowledge, which is a research-based theory that basically says students need to be going up the ladder of critical thinking and cognitive ability. So we are looking at that data and we're processing and we're problem solving and we're sort of going back and forth trying to make our classrooms the best that they can be. And then also every 2 weeks, I meet with Mr. Kozlak and Ms. Bernier regarding the same data, and we look at their classrooms and how we can make them better. So again, it's all going back to the look-for, it's all going back to critical thinking and problem solving. So we're very focused and very strategic in what we're doing.
The co-teaching look-for form is a bit different. We're looking for parity. We're looking to make sure that you can't tell the difference between the special education teacher and the general education teacher, that all students are being served regardless of disability. So it's a different sort of look-for form for the co-teaching model. So the next action step that we're looking to do is continue the instructional rounds across all buildings with a focus on the grade level expectations. As a team, we met and decided that with everything going on, we have a new, we're launching Marzano training, which you probably have heard about in previous meetings. So we've decided to pause this, but we didn't take it out of our action plan because we're going to revisit it in May and train folks again around those instructional round practices. So this is something that we'll have to revisit, but we just sort of figured it was a bit overwhelming to keep that in for right now. And the last action step pertaining to this first district objective is to coach teachers to ensure that our IEGDs, which are indicators of academic growth and development measures within the TVAL, align with district grade level expectations for critical thinking and problem solving. My glasses are fogging up. It's really hard to do this with a mask and glasses. And so basically our evidence of success is that our student learning objectives are aligned directly with our building level goals, which is around that critical thinking and problem solving. And that concludes goal number 1. So moving on, we are doing goal number 2. I can count. It's always a good skill to have.
So as our previous speaker talked a lot about, social emotional learning is critically important, especially in the time that we're living in right now. So our goal number 2 was to create a positive learning environment that supports and supplements high quality teaching and learning development. And of course, we are to develop an infrastructure to build student and staff agency. Our first action step is we wanted to ensure that we have our committees in place, and we do have a social emotional learning committee in every building, as well as a district one, and we also have a well-being committee as well, and that was already done at the beginning of the year. Next, we have our bi-weekly attendance review meetings. That is part of social emotional learning. When kids love being in school, they go to school. So it's really important that we look at attendance as part of our social emotional committee, and we make sure that we do that biweekly. And in some cases, the district attendance review board, they meet quarterly. Our goal around that is to improve attendance 10%. And lastly, on social emotional learning is to continue implementing our positive intervention for both academic and behavioral success. So our resources that we're using for that are Marzano. We are using our SRBI programs, and we're looking at attendance, discipline, participation in club and activities, and also participation in standardized assessments. The state has a goal for us of 95% participation in all Smarter Balanced assessments, and we want to decrease our discipline referrals by 10%. Okay, so now I'm going to hand it over to Black Rock and Center School to address their goals.
Thank you very much. So Black Rock and Thomaston Center Schools, we have very similar action steps for the mathematics achievement goals. So I'm going to share the first one, and Mrs. Bernier will share the second. So our first action step is that all mathematics lessons in classrooms every day are focused on critical thinking and problem solving. And we've heard that theme earlier in the presentation as well. We believe strongly that when students are able to think critically and learn how to solve problems, that they are better independent mathematicians and ultimately will achieve at a higher level, both in the classroom and on state assessments. So what we're doing is we are providing supports and resources for our teachers so that they can better plan lessons that will help our students achieve and grow again in these critical areas. So we have three resources that we have in play this year. The first is that all classroom teachers have regularly scheduled team meetings. At Black Rock School, they're bi-weekly, I believe similar at that Center School, where they meet with our instructional coaches, our interventionists, sometimes the school principal or the director, where they have access to this, like these specialized folks who have additional expertise so that they can plan lessons that are focused, both the activities, the assessments, and all the components of the lesson are focused again on critical thinking and problem solving. Secondly, all of our classroom teachers across the grade levels K through 6 have common planning time with their grade level colleagues. And thirdly is that our curriculum work is now also focused on creating continuity, like among our units and also among the grade levels, again, with the focus on critical thinking and problem solving.
We also
appreciate and understand that some of our students need a little bit more support to maintain and to think critically and to problem solve effectively. So we also at the elementary level are utilizing our SRBI process, scientific research based instruction. And so we host meetings weekly or biweekly, depending upon the school, that include interventionists and coaches, special education staff, and general education staff to talk about specific instruction and how we're going to help support and grow our students. And we're using the iReady math program primarily for that, for some of our data. And this is helping, and it allows students to be where they are and to work towards high standards. And we've set up a schedule that allows the appropriate personnel to meet and to discuss this.
The second district goal is in regards to our social emotional program and social emotional learning. At Blackrock School, we have essentially fully implemented our social emotional program back to pre-pandemic, the pre-pandemic program. And we're really, really proud of that. Three main components of that. Number one is our monthly town hall meetings for each grade level. We do those a little bit differently now than pre-COVID, just to handle the crowd size. But the students love it, and it's a very enthusiastic part of our program. Secondly, each classroom has monthly SEL lessons based to sort of dive deeper into the themes that they're learning at the town hall meetings. And thirdly, and just as importantly, we really focus on embedding our social emotional pillars and themes into our interactions with each other as staff members, with the students, and really promote students to encourage those themes in their interactions with each other. Our second action step at Blackrock on the SEL side is working with student attendance. Student attendance has suffered over the last few years. I'm proud to say that at Blackrock in pre-pandemic times, we had really, really strong student attendance. Our chronic absenteeism percentage was extremely low, and that has suffered for a lot of different reasons. So we are steadfast in our work as the attendance committee. That's myself, our social worker, and our school nurse. We meet bi-weekly. We discuss all students who have attendance concerns. We work with students, families, parents, and try to strategize any type of outreach that we can to help these kids get to school more. So we hope that incrementally over the next couple of years, we can get our attendance back to where it was pre-COVID.
And at Center School, we too are continuing our work with the SEL programming. We are using primarily Ruler, which is a program that we were trained in a couple of years ago. We rolled it out with the staff last year, and we are working with the students this year to talk about our mood meter and how we're going to be our best self, and supporting each other through with our emotions. We are employing both in-class supports through class lessons, and we are also doing assemblies as well as SEL school-wide lessons. So the students receive support and lessons on the classroom level as well as on the school-wide level. And it's working quite nicely. We primarily do this on Fridays, although in the classroom lessons, they are throughout the week. We are also working to continue with our work with restorative practices. 2017, 2018 was an academic year where we were all trained, all of our staff, certified and non-certified staff were trained in restorative practices and circles. And we have returned to that as we had pre-pandemic. We are working to decrease our student disciplinary referrals and using restorative practices to work on empathy and to work on supporting each other. Thank you.
So you likely have Seeing a theme developing here that we're focusing on math. Our approach at the high school is a little bit different than the other two schools. We are primarily focusing on critical thinking, and our goals are, and our action steps are directly related to those look-fors. And the look-fors are, the look-for form has 8 individual strategies for critical thinking. And my entire focus this year is getting into classrooms, collecting data, bringing that data, the data with regard to the look-fors, which are critical thinking skills again, bringing that data to a monthly review with Jess and Gianni Perugini, considering what that data means, then bringing that data to the faculty, and they get a monthly task to examine that data. We then meet as a faculty meeting, and then followed up with team time. So I'm in the classrooms. Johnny and I are in the classrooms collecting the data. We're then meeting with the teachers as a group, a large group, to consider that data, the implications of the data, and then we meet. Each of us meet with the teams again, individual of the teams, to discuss misconceptions with regard to that data. It's been going very, very well. With that said, I want to assure you we have all the other components as well set. We have our intervention that's been introduced. We have new curriculum from 7th grade through 10th grade. So in the background, all of the other interventions are occurring as well. But this year's focus primarily is instructional rigor, and that is the critical thinking. Moving on to the SEL. We've had a rigorous SEL initiative at the high school for years. It's, ranges between the advisory, the team talks, and a very, very robust support staff. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Someone would make a motion?
Kyle Rector will make a motion to accept and approve the district improvement plan.
Matt Vinomer, second.
Does anybody have any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Moving right along, our next presentation is from the District Safety Coordinator, Gianni Perugini, the Assistant Principal at Thomaston High School.
Hello, good evening. Can you all hear me? Yeah, okay, good. All right. I can't hear myself. So you know me as Gianni Perugini, Assistant Principal of Thomaston High School, but tonight I'm here addressing you as the Thomaston Public Schools Safety Coordinator. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you tonight about the responsibilities of this role. Sue, next. Oh, Sue, you did it. I've always want to say Sue, next slide. So awesome. I look up and I see the slide has changed. Okay. So Connecticut General Statute 10-222 requires each local Board of Education to annually review and update its school safety security plans. This is required of all public schools in Connecticut. And as the safety coordinator, I serve as the chairman of the district safety committee. And this committee is tasked with reviewing and updating the Thomaston Public Schools all hazard security and safety plan. Once the review is complete, I'm responsible for submitting this plan to our regional representative for the Connecticut Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security. School districts without a plan may be denied state funding. And so this committee is made up of the superintendent's Board of Ed members, first responders, including Thomaston Police, Fire and EMS officials, the Thomaston Emergency Management Director, Food Services Director, and local Public Health Director. An approved plan is signed by all committee members yearly. So the committee also creates and updates as needed the district emergency procedures, and those are our code red, code orange, code yellow, and our evacuation or fire drill plans. All right, so what is there to coordinate, you're asking, all right? And the next bullets help explain just that. The state statute also requires each school in the district to have a building, school safety, security, school climate committee that will meet to review accidents, injuries, school climate data, safety scenario drills, and it'll work to address areas of need or concerns related to these topics. For these, I've created an agenda template for each building committee to guide their meetings and also help record their minutes. Each committee is chaired by a building administrator, which I collaborate with closely on providing them the most up-to-date safety information. We've also put together safety folders for all of our teachers in every classroom in all our buildings, and we give feedback to all of our staff and teachers whenever we hold a safety drill or practice one of our safety, or if we have a safety incident. Okay. I communicate regularly with our fire marshal, town fire marshal, law enforcement, and EMS on safety-related policy concerns or questions, and then I relay that information to our chairs. I meet with Superintendent Cross to update her on our safety concerns or matters, and then I also meet with the safety chairs to talk about safety initiatives and how they're going in their respective buildings. I attend 2 committee meetings. I serve as the education representative to the Thomaston Townwide Safety Committee, which is comprised of safety officials from the town. And then I also attend the Connecticut School Safety Committee to learn more about safety initiatives and programs that we can take back here to Thomaston High School. Okay, so next slide. All right, so some of my future plans, there will be 2 assessments that we will complete this school year. The first one is the vulnerability assessment. The second is the physical school building and grounds assessment. So the first one will be completed by myself and Thomaston Police. The second will be completed by each building safety team. The findings of the assessment will then be reviewed by the district safety committee and also Superintendent Cross. Okay. The third is I'd like to explore some opportunities to bring safety-based professional development programs to our district, and I'm working closely with Superintendent Cross on this. All right. Last slide. Our most recent district safety initiative is the Say Something Anonymous reporting system. And this reporting system was developed by the Sandy Hook Promise, and it is free to our district. There is no cost for us utilizing this system. The Say Something Anonymous reporting system enables students to anonymously report an issue 24/7, 365. All right. And it's done through an app, it's done through the hotline, or it's done through the website. And this is arriving to Thomaston at the right time. We're all aware of the wave of violence and threats happening in schools recently, reported on the news. So this system will give our staff and students another way to report tips to keep our school community safe. This is not only a tip line for violence, but or potential violence, but also a way for students to communicate and seek assistance with bullying or mental health concerns. So when a student makes a report, it's received by highly skilled crisis counselors. They respond within seconds. While communicating with the student, the system then begins to alert all the necessary personnel, such as the school's crisis team members, administrators, and if needed, even the Thomaston Police. There are 3 convenient ways to report tips. Like I said before, it can be done via the app. It can be done on any phone, on any tablet, on any computer, or through the website. And the Sandy Hook Promise also provides us with, they'll be training our students on how to use the system, but they also provide us with support curriculum as well. That's SEL based. All right. The system should be live at the within our schools within the next week, once the students are trained properly. I believe that's happening on December 20th. And administrators will be sending more information to parents and guardians as well about this within the next few days. So thank you very much for the opportunity to address the board tonight. I hope you found this information informative. Are there any questions?
I have one thing.
Sure.
If you say I didn't hear it, but say something is replacing a system that we did have but did not have as many features, and that actually was at a cost to the district. So I think that needs to be mentioned because there may be parents that are watching as well as maybe female parents who are used to the other name of the other product.
Yeah, the other product was Crisis Go. That was our anonymous reporting system that we had. What's made me want to go with the Sandy Hook Promise's anonymous reporting system is the fact that Crisis Go was like sending an email. You'd put in you'd fill out the form, you hit send, and then you'd wait until somebody read it and addressed it, and that could have taken a time. What I love about the SAFE system, anonymous reporting system, is that, like I mentioned, within seconds, a student puts in a report, they have the option to engage with a trained counselor. If they're having a mental health crisis at 1 a.m. on a Saturday, and they report, they're going to have someone who's right there with them that can help them through whatever situation they're going through. So that's one of the things that I love about this system. And it's all funded through the Sandy Hook Promise. It's at no cost to our district. So it's just a valuable resource for us and our students and their safety. Okay. And it will be replacing Crisis Go. That's the short answer. Yes. Any other questions? Sure. That's a good question. It is Sandy Hook Promise will train our students in grades 6 through 12. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean that if a 4th or 5th grader puts in a tip that it won't be handled. It will be handled, but they only provide training for grades 6 through 12. What they do for grades K2 through 3 is they provide video lessons, SEL-based lessons that were actually developed in conjunction with Disney. And what they do is they build compassion and care amongst students. I think the program, it's called Start With Hello, to get our students to build that care and that compassion for one another. All right. Now, if a parent of a K-12 student or a K-3 student uses it, we will still get the tip. So even though we're only training our 6 to 12 students on it, technically anyone can use it. All right, if it's on a student's phone, tablet, or we're using the hotline number or the website. Okay.
You say it's anonymous, but how anonymous is it? I mean, you could still track somebody if they use it improperly, correct?
Well, no, we can't. All right, but there's an option for the student or whoever is using it to give their name and give their information.
Right, but if somebody's using it incorrectly, you can't get. There's no way to trace who did it.
Do you mean give the tip?
Make a false report, do something,
Yeah. Yes, I understand what you're saying. So, part of when that tip comes in, the counselors are trained to distinguish whether or not there's a false report. And most of the times we've been told they err on the side of caution. So they will, contact who needs to be contacted. But if there's a report that comes through like clowns have big shoes, that obviously that won't go anywhere. Are we able to still see it? Will our police have access to it? Yes. All right. So I'm not sure what type of, what can be done, but to find out who makes the tip. But I don't think in that moment we would want to know. We would still take the necessary precautions to make sure that everyone is safe and to make sure that we make the best decision. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any others?
Yeah, if a student calls in
looking for counseling and it's anonymous, so there's no way then to notify the parents if it's like a self-injury or any of that kind of stuff?
Did you want to take the question?
There's two forms of reporting. There's non-emergent and emergent. The emergent report goes directly to 911. So I believe that's what you're inquiring. So if someone says, I'm going to hurt myself, they're not just going to say, okay, they're going to pass it along to 911. And if they have to, they would get the IP address. But they assured us that rarely ever happens.
Okay. Not only would they contact 911, but they're also contacting members of the school's crisis team as well, right? So we're made aware. Right. And representatives from the Sandy Hook or from the Say Something anonymous reporting system also work with the Thomaston Police Department. So that communication's already been had. All right.
Okay. Thank you very much for that update, Gianni.
Thank you. Have a good meeting.
Our next presentation is from the superintendent class.
Thank you. I'm making a brief summative presentation on the 2021-2022 winter sports COVID-19 guidance that was put out the tail end of last month by the CMS. Specifically, I'm going to focus on the unmasking of some athletes. Next slide, please. So in the regulations that the CMS put out, they were recommending that those who are vaccinated can go unmasked when in active play or competition as athletes. So this is the full statement from the CISC, but I'll just sum it up for you rather simply. What I've been investigating since this was brought to my attention is, will this be embraced by everyone in the Berkshire League and of course across the state? And I also raised some questions at my weekly Department of Public Health meeting asking about how it is that we can unmask athletes in the very same building that the executive order from the governor states we must be masked all the time. And the DPH, which is the next slide, wrote their own statement in support, one more slide after this, please, and then we can go back to this table. Go forward one. So the State Department of Education, their statement in support of unmasking very specific types of athletes, which we can go back to that table in a minute and you'll see the different sports relevant to us. That requires masking in schools. The executive order states that the Department of Public Health will decide who and where is masked. So it's not the executive order itself that says the schools, it's the executive order that says the Department of Public Health shall decide. The Department of Public Health put out this statement that's on the screen now. It's the updated version they put out back when the mask mandate was first implemented. So what the Department of Public Health is saying is they agree with what the CDC has put out. Could we go back one slide, please? There are many sports that occur in the winter season, but these are the sports that occur in Thomaston in the winter season. Thank you. So you can see here that what's being recommended by the CISC is that after our vacation, we would return and be permitting students of very specific conditions of vaccination to go unmasked when they are actively participating in their sport. So I'll use basketball as an example. If a student athlete is fully vaccinated, we would be able to then have them be unmasked in the game or in certain other specified settings. If they're partially or unvaccinated, they will be masked all the time. That's the point that Sheila was making, that the Ellington Superintendent and Board of Education is making, is that you'll be wearing information about your medical status on your face, because if you're allowed to be unmasked, everyone will know you're vaccinated. If you are wearing a mask, the assumption will be you're unvaccinated, but it could be that you're just choosing to wear a mask. Also, too, if one were to be deemed a close contact and vaccinated, they would be not permitted to participate, or they would be forced to wear a mask even though they are vaccinated. So again, you'd have another medical layer of notification because you're used to being masked and now you're masked. So this has been a controversy. The Department of Public Health did not provide me with any response to my request about information related to FERPA or HIPAA. And I want to believe that was one of the many points that were not responded to that led to Ellington, for example, making that very out loud statement to the state. You can move ahead a slide, 2 slides, please, Sue. So ultimately, the Department of Public Health is saying that beginning on December 23rd, all fully vaccinated athletes, coaches, and officials, and fully vaccinated means you're at least 2 weeks out from your second dose of vaccine or your single dose of vaccine, if you're an adult, may remove their masks while actively participating in a game or other official contest. That's the bold writing there. So my recommendation tonight is to accept the CIO's guidance because it is supported by the Department of Public Health, and because the Department of Public Health wrote this mask wearing statement in alignment with it, it also keeps us in alignment with the mask mandate from the governor. So we would not be breaking any law. We might be confusing a good number of people because they have to get used to remembering to keep their mask on when they're not actively participating. Spectators would have to keep their masks on while they're in the gymnasium watching the game, but masks could come off of our athletes. I think our population would understand after a couple of, oops, I forgot. I think we would very quickly get used to the difference between what's an active participant and what's a non-active participant. However, those students who are vaccinated or unvaccinated would have to be distinguished so that we would be able to say, you must wear a mask all the time. You don't have to wear a mask. So parents need to know that will be made clear to the coaches. So the next slide is a statement about just reassuring you that mask wearing is required of everyone else. So the Department of Public Health changed their statement about athletes, but they have not changed their statement about mask wearing for everyone who is unvaccinated or anyone else who might be participating in an event that isn't the athlete. And then my last slide follows, which is my recommendation. So I'm recommending tonight that the Board of Education accept and approve the CIS winter sports guidance as they present it in their multi-page document. Please know that if the board accepts this, and I've been highlighting masking in this presentation, but we would need to make certain that we understand that some of this guidance puts responsibility on the local level for other things. So for example, spectator and fan attendance. There's a paragraph about that, but there's nothing that the CIO is recommending like they did last year, where they said shrink the number of participants or spectators, utilize ways of keeping people 6 feet apart. It would be up to us to decide. And so at this time, both of the schools that we use for CISD sports would be choosing to not limit the number of spectators in the space that we'll have competitions in, but they will be requiring masks because masks are still required in school buildings.
This is Roxy Finer. Can somebody make a motion, please?
This is Matt Van Ormer. I make a motion to vote and accept and approve the CIAC winter sports guidance as presented.
Stephen Carr, second.
Any questions or discussion?
This is Dave Kalek. I just don't think that we really want to get into sports again. As far as the board goes, I would just rather leave it to the judgment of our athletic directors, principal, and superintendent, and not screwing the light bulb, if you will. Some of you guys know what I mean by that. I think that this should be handled by the people that we employ to make these decisions, and I don't think the board should really be involved in sports decisions.
Frank Triglia. I would like, so we're gonna remove masks and allow them to remove masks on a court that they're with other students from other schools face to face. I don't want to say almost breathing literally at each other's face, but in the hallways, we took the trouble of separating them by lockers. In the classrooms, they face away from each other, I think, and they have to wear masks. But we're going to allow this in an area that they're going to be completely next to each other. I think that's wrong. I'm going to vote no. We're not going to accept this. That's my opinion. Unless we can take the mask off at school. The students can sit in their classrooms without a mask. I agree with the CIAC, but right now I do not.
This is Stephen Carr. I think it's basically what's currently in place is just opening up some leniency towards a relief from some of the mask mandates. This is kind of an exception to the rule of the mandate that's been made. So that's why I'm voting yes on this.
Matt Van Ormer. I have a couple of daughters that have been playing basketball all spring, summer, and fall outside of the school system, and they've played unmasked face to face with girls for the last 6 months. And there's been no outbreaks or anything. So I agree that allowing it in the gymnasium seems weird that we're not allowing it in a school, but we don't have that option to allow it in school right now. So I think allowing it, the only place to allow it is the best we're going to get right now, and why I support it.
I don't know if I can ask this, but I had heard that there was a current outbreak on our current basketball team. Is that correct or incorrect?
I don't have any information about an outbreak with a particular team. I know of individuals who we've identified as having COVID, but I don't know if they're on the team.
Okay.
I don't get that kind of information, but I could find out information about how it is affecting the team, but right now I don't have that information.
Here, just have more comments on the situation. I think it's really hard to wear a mask. We all know that, and not putting it running and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to cause any other problems for kids health-wise because they have to wear the mask.
And again, it's for vaccinated students only who would be given this opportunity, and it would be only for the athletes, coaches, and those that are on the court, I should say, in the plural of athletics. So the spectators would still be fully vaccinated. I mean, still fully masked.
How can we find out if the students are vaccinated or not? Because that, I don't know if we can legally do that, can we?
When I find someone and myself, if they don't tell us up front, they tell us on the contact trace, and then they provide us with proof. What about other schools with their athletes coming in? Do they have to provide proof that they're vaccinated to their schools? No. What will happen is if let's say we choose not to unmask, then when they come here to play, they would be unmasked. If we choose to be masked, regardless. So you would make an assumption as a spectator that if someone was unmasked on the opposite team, that they were vaccinated. You would be going on the understanding that the coach would not allow someone to be unmasked if they were unvaccinated.
I think it also needs to be addressed. This isn't a matter of saying that now that if you're vaccinated, you're not able to wear a mask. It's still about a choice. And if it's a matter of the children feeling comfortable with a mask, then, so be it. This is not a change of the situation, except for they're given a choice.
This is Roxy Finer. I know that the plan states that fully vaccinated means they've had their 2 doses of either the Pfizer or Moderna or the 1 dose of Johnson & Johnson. Is that going to be updated to include a booster for Pfizer now that it's being offered for 16 and 17-year-olds? Or
the Department of Public Health has not spoken to the booster at all. They're just looking for what they're defining as fully vaccinated, which means 2 weeks after your last dose of vaccine.
This is Heather Patchell. I'm not so concerned about the mask. I'm more concerned about the amount of people we're going to have in the center school gym. It being so small, I'm thrilled we're able to watch our children play, but I think we need to limit maybe visitor parents. Maybe we need to address that on whatever level, but people have been to middle school games there before. It gets packed. There's not enough seating there. And then the girls play after the boys or the boys play after the girls. There's 2 groups of parents in there at one time. And I think we need to find a way that it's going to flow correctly. That's my only concern. I don't want to take away fans. Don't get the wrong idea. I just want to make sure it's safe.
Understood.
does anybody else have any more comments or questions regarding this?
Just once again, I'd like to ask for this motion to be retracted and let the athletic directors and superintendent infection rates and we see what's going on. Them to make the decisions. That's just my opinion, but
Is it to my understanding, Steve Carr, is it to my understanding that by approving this, we're giving them the option to make that choice, as opposed to now they would not have, or without it, they would not have that option?
For that to the superintendent, I say that, approving this basically says that, we're a go for this, and it doesn't necessarily give them the okay to, there's all of a sudden increase, where do they go? Do they feel because we've said yes to this plan, do they feel like they can amend it? Because once this body, which is the board of directors for the school, basically says, here's what we've made a motion on and it's been approved and this is what we are directing, it kind of takes it and the administrators to make changes, unless we want to put a caveat on the amendment to say that this could be changed. This is the way we feel today, but it can be changed by directors and principals if they deem it necessary because of an outbreak or an emergency. You know what I'm saying? But I don't want to get into giving them a mandate, basically giving them a mandate or an instruction to do something, and then wondering whether they have the power to change it if they need to, without having their own meeting for us. We pay them, and we hope that they use their good judgment to do the right thing for our students and our community. So I'm opposed by them, a directive.
I want to go over what Heather said. She clearly said that center school, she wants to keep them safe. Only proving method of keeping people safe today, and it's mask. That's it. I mean, I hate to say it, but that's what it is. And I've seen center school gym. I've seen the girls coming in. I've seen a second set of parents come in. There's nowhere to stand except for the court. If we're going to be happy with, some people have to have masks, some people don't. We don't really can't prove if they're vaccinated or they're not vaccinated. God bless us all, but I don't think it's the best idea that we come up with right now when it's all coming to an end, hopefully. All right, thank you.
One of the things that we need to consider is if this is adopted, either through formal board motion tonight or through the admin, through myself making the decision, we would be in conflict with one of our policies that's in place right now, and we would need board action on that policy in order to let that happen. The policy is 5132, and the policy committee discussed this evening. 5132 is dress and grooming. I don't know if you recall, that was one of the first policies we changed when masking was mandated. So it's basically saying that all people over the age of 2 have to wear a mask in schools because of the mask mandate. And what we would have to do is amend it so that it would, if we were going in this direction of accepting what the DPH and the CDC is saying, we would have to amend it to allow for this guidance to occur. So then if there's no action now, there would have to be some kind of action by the board on that policy in order for me and the athletic directors and principals to take further action. Because right now, I cannot allow the CIAC's recommendations because our policy says you must wear a mask. So that would have to be an action taken by the board tonight if they were to support what my decision would be, would be to follow the DPH and CIAC, as we would be the only group in the Berkshire League to not do that. And as some of you have said, it's something that's approved. It's an opportunity. I'm finding it difficult to keep the sense of it as well. Why is it that I can, like Frank said, I can't take off my mask when I'm sitting next to someone in a classroom, but they're permitting it? That's on the DPH to tell you, and they can't seem to explain why they're allowing such a thing at this time. Thomaston, the town right now is, as of last Thursday, Thomaston's positivity rate is 15%. And we've been averaging 2 COVID cases a day. So like when you asked me about us at the basketball team, I know the grade levels of the students. A couple did come in that would be old enough to be on the team, but a good number of our kids are at that level.
2 per day in the
If you average it, it's about 2 per day in this month.
Not in the town.
No, in this district, 2 COVID positive cases every day of the month. It's the 13th, we have 26 cases. And it's been fine about that, because on Friday, we were at 22. So they've been creeping in slowly, so we are staying on trend. We're staying at a steady pace of positivity, but the town of Thomaston is 15% positivity right now. They had over 80, it was about 86 cases per 100,000 when the nearest town to us was about 49.
Heather Batchel, I'm sorry, did you say every other Berkshire League school is adapting this?
Yes, so we had a meeting 4 Thursdays ago where the districts in the area that participate in Berkshire met, and the league met separately, and it was determined that they were all going to go forward with this. So this is why I brought it to your attention, because it's in conflict with policy and it really does need your attention as a board.
Okay, so can we just amend the amendment to accept the CIC winter sports guidelines as presented, and also clarify that it is okay for the staff, the administrators, the athletic directors to make changes if necessary based on any condition that they find. Let's give them the flexibility to be able to say, hey, we have X number of cases, or we have a problem with the central schools. And you're right, I've been there. My kids both played there. Let's make sure that we put in the flexibility for our staff members to be able to adapt as necessary and not make it, let's make it flexible and let's not make it rigid. That's what I'm saying. Is that okay with the people who made the motion in the second?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem amending the motion, but the motion is just to accept athletes to take it off. So if Francine and the administration want to put limitations on people in the gym, that doesn't have anything to do with the CIAC.
CIAC does say that the spectators still have to wear masks. It doesn't say that they do population. So this would give us that flexibility.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you wanted to limit spectators, that doesn't have to be a board approved policy. You guys could do that as an administration.
Yeah, I don't want to get to a point where we have to have an emergency or a special meeting because they see something going, the athletic directors or principals. I want them to be able to have the ability to, because that's what we want to give them, the power and the authority and the ability, because we've hired them to use their best judgment on behalf of our students in our community, to make some changes if they need to. You know what I'm saying? I don't want us to be overseeing the whole to adjust as necessary if it becomes necessary, and hopefully it doesn't. But I just want them to be able to know that they have the ability to do what they can, if you will.
And I don't, I don't want to cut spectators totally at center school. I don't want to, I'll plead to Preston to not do that. But at the same time, we have to navigate a right way to do it. So, I'm hoping that we could find a solution that's safe for all.
If we adopt this or this motion passes, do we need to change the policy first? Or it doesn't matter the order? The policy committee will suggest that in the report tonight. If this is voted on. Otherwise, we'll repass it unless I come out and say I'm not going to do this, which would be what I would follow up to if you don't choose to take action on CIAC. But yes, we have an intent to do a fast track of that policy that needs to be updated if we make this change.
Do we want to entertain an amended motion? Or do we want to vote on the motion that is standing?
I'll amend it if I can. Matt Van Ormer, I vote to accept and approve the CAAC winter sports guidance as presented, allowing the superintendent, principals, athletic directors to make any changes as necessary.
Stephen Carr, second.
Is there any discussion on the amended motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we got our opposed. Any abstaining? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to our student representative reports. Delaney.
Okay. Academics, after the Thanksgiving break, students came back well rested ready to continue the second quarter. COVID-19 strictly as cases rise and new variants become present. Students and staffs are still in good spirits as the long winter break comes on December 23rd. Clubs are continuing their regular scheduled meetings. Upcoming events include hiring a babysitter to the regular style, and the students will watch for children so parents can finish shopping and wrapping. For athletics, as the fall season came to an end, the cross-country teams both finished out with great races in Class S states and state open meets. The boys' soccer team sadly lost in the first round against Portland 3-1. The girls' soccer team lost in the quarterfinals 5-1 to Holy Cross. And finally, the field hockey team ended their season at the semifinal game at Brantford High School with a 1-0 loss against Stonington High School. All teams in Thomaston are very proud. Winter sports have begun with the girls' basketball, boys' basketball, and cheerleading all being offered at THS. Games begin today with the girls' basketball team playing at 7 p.m. at THS against Richfield Tigers, which we won. The boys' basketball team starts the season on Thursday at 7 p.m. against the Pog Spartans at THS. All athletes are excited for this season. And for special events, the THS hosted their first ever walk-in. Students from all grades gathered donations for the Page Battle Memorial. Students made a pledge to stay awake the entire night here at the THS Gymnasium and spent the whole night playing fun games and watching movies.
Thank you, Delaney. Under my report, we have the honor roll, which was included in your board packet. We have the resignation of Jennifer Nolan as a Board of Education member. So under our policy number 9221, we will fill this seat. And at this time, I will accept nominations for these seats.
Dave Kowalski would like to enter the nomination, Marie Eldridge.
Frank Triglia, I will second it.
Heather Patchell, second.
Are there any other nominations? Okay. Hearing none, we will do a roll call vote. So we will start with Sarah Ethier. Heather Patchell.
Katie Pelletier.
Frank Triglia.
Eldridge.
Beth Campbell.
Marie Eldridge.
Dave Colavecchia.
Eldridge.
Steve Carr.
Maria Eldridge.
Matthew Van Ormer.
Maria Eldridge.
Based on the vote, Marie Eldridge is the new board member. Congratulations, Marie. Thank you very much for your interest in running, Katie. Moving on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. My report starts with correspondences, and I'd like to just highlight one in particular. Item 10-1114 is a thank you letter to the staff of Thomaston Public Schools from our former board member Jennifer Nolan, who's also the chairperson of Light Up Thomaston. Dear Thomaston Public School District teachers, staff, and students, Our committee would like to extend our sincere gratitude for your contributions for our annual raffle. Our annual festival of trees and more is our biggest fundraiser of the season, and your beautiful baskets helped make that possible. During the event, there were many excited kids looking for the basket they contributed to, and the baskets appealed to both kids and adults. We can't wait to see the baskets next year. Light Up Thomaston has been a 26-year tradition in our small town, and we are solely funded by our own fundraising efforts. It is through contributions like yours that we will be able to continue to light up our town to bring in the holiday season for years to come. Also, if you have seen any of our posters around town, they are a product of 5 of Thomaston's students, 2 from Blackhawk School, 2 from Central School, and 1 from the high school. Thank you, Miss Johnston and Miss Becky, for all of the entries. This has become one of the favorite meetings of our committee members, getting to look at all the kids' interpretations of our event. A special thank you to Nancy Cabbage, who was our go-to person for getting the kids and schools and kids involved. Wishing you a wonderful holiday season. Sincerely, Jennifer Nolan. Thought it would be very important for everyone to hear about our support from our board and our school system for that wonderful townwide event. There were some correspondences from Kim. There were none from CAPS, none from the United States Department of Health, and none from the Department of Public Health. However, the State Department of Education did provide us with 10 different items of correspondence since our last meeting. Under reports, contracts, and family information, I've provided you with the updated consolidated COVID data and vaccination rate report. And this afternoon, I sent out a reminder to parents regarding our COVID data, helping them remember that we post that COVID data in real time on our website. And I have also included last year's COVID data as a comparison. Our administrative reports for December are also included under my reports. And specifically under the curriculum director's report, we have 3 curriculum guides that require your acceptance and approval. I ask that the board accept and approve the band curriculum guide, the chorus curriculum guide, and the piano curriculum guide as presented.
Do I have a motion?
Dick, I'd like to make a motion to approve the curriculum guides as presented.
And then one more second.
Discussion or questions regarding these? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Thank you.
My report is attached to my overall list of reports, and under contracts, we have our school removal, snow removal contract with Oswicki and Sons. They have been removing snow for us since as long as I've been here, and I have to give a shout out to them because they have yet to raise their rates for us. They have been incredibly generous to the Board of Education. And there are other contracts listed there. Under grants, we have the ARP, or American Rescue Plan version of our IDEA grant. It is a secondary portion of money that we were not anticipating, that we are expecting to receive very soon, and the application is there for you to read, as well as the ESSER, or Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Funds for Special Education. That is also an additional grant because of the pandemic. Under fundraisers, we have 3. They're there for your information. We have no gifts or donations at this time. Now I'm going to move on to personnel. We have 3 new hires under personnel. We have no transfers or new assignments. We have 1 reassignment and 4 resignations, no retirements, 1 termination, no renewals, and no more stop-ins. I ask the board now to acknowledge my notification of personnel, specifically the new hires, the reassignments, resignations, and terminations as presented.
I'd like you to make a motion to acknowledge the superintendent's notification of personnel, specifically new hires, transfers, retirements, resignations, renewal stipends for policy 4112, 4212 personnel, certified, non-certified, appointed, and conditions of employment as presented.
Matt Venomer, second.
Is there any questions or discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Thank you.
This is Francine Cost continuing her report. There are no requests for family medical leave on this agenda. There are two, excuse me, on this agenda. We have no new interns or student teachers at this time, and we have one request for an out-of-state field trip to Six Flags New England, which will be on June 3rd, 2022 for the class of 23. I ask that the Board of Education accept and approve the field trip to Six Flags New England as presented.
I'd like to make a motion to accept and approve the field trip to Six Flags New England as presented.
Matt Venomer, second.
Are any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Thank you.
Finishing up my report, I have two requests regarding the sales and disposal of books, equipment, and supplies. One is a donation of textbooks, and the other is a disposal of textbooks. Both of those were approved as written, and no action needs to be taken by the Board of Education at this time.
Thank you. Do we have Todd with us to do the budget audit?
Sue, is Todd on?
Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, we're going to try and turn you up, Todd.
Can you hear me now? Hello, can you hear me?
Can you guys hear Todd?
Try again, Todd.
Can you hear me now?
Thank you.
Okay, so would you like me to go through the whole report or just the information on the excess costs? I can go over everything if you like.
Just the excess cost portion, please.
Okay, so you should have a report in Excel of the comparison of our 560 and 563 account. This is similar to what the Board of Finance requested last year, that's how they determined the money that they would allow to give us for excess costs. So our budget, our net town budget allocation for the account 560 was 196,866. For 563 object code, it was 399,997. So in total, the budget was 596,863. Our expenditures without any excess cost was 877,300. So the difference of that is 280,437. So I believe that's what the Board of Finance would allow us to get in excess cost. We actually received 404,705. So that's a difference of 124,268. Again, which in the past year that went into the general fund as revenue on the town side. I don't agree with that. I differ with the auditors. I feel that we budget net, not gross. So I believe we should be entitled to the full amount of the excess cost of $404,705. Again, so we have a difference of opinion there, but tomorrow night they're going to discuss this. So that's why we wanted to present this to you, to the Board of Ed, to give you, an idea of what the Board of Finance is going to be looking at tomorrow night. The other reports we had comes strictly from the state, and this is where it shows that they've calculated excess costs is, for grant type 1, that would be when we place a student, I'll place it at $288,021. Grant type 2 at $116,685. That's where the state agency placed it. So it's only one-time expenditures. So that's where the $404,705. So we've actually received, the town received $404,705 in excess cost grant revenue. The other report that says special ed excess cost grant student data filing, that's the report that we file in March. Andrea's office does it. And that shows all our students, what we paid for in tuition and what we paid for in transportation. So again, this is what drives the $404,705. And then the final report just shows how the state calculated from the report that we filed, the CJAG report. This is how they come up with, they have a pot of money and then they allocate it based on the whole state. And they gave us 80.4% of excess costs. So our costs were actually for grant type 1, $358,626 and $145,289, but they only gave us 80.4% of that. And again, that's where the $288,020 and the $116,685 come from. So this is what the Board of Finance is going to be looking at tomorrow night. Again, I think the board's entitled to the full $404,705. And that's my feeling, but it's possible that the Board of Finance may not agree with that and give us less money than I feel that we're due. I know that's a lot of information. Any questions, clarification?
Todd, can you hear me?
Yep.
Could you please just give a little bit more detail?
What's that?
Todd, are you able to hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, Francine.
One of the conditions that I'd like you to explain the condition related to that higher percentage of ECS that we received, because some of it belongs to a reimbursement on a student that we were paying 4.5 times on, but I ended up needing to pay down.
So yes, we budgeted 4.5 times reimbursement, but we did find out one student was state agency placed. So in the calculation, that's where you see the grant type 2. So we actually received, all we had to do over our one-time expenditure, that goes, we get reimbursed 80% on that. So that's one reason why we've received more money than we budgeted. Another reason is we budgeted at 75% reimbursement rate, but because of COVID and everything, the state gave us 80% of reimbursement. So again, we made our budget estimates
at the, the information we had at that time. And that's why our revenues are a little higher than anticipated.
This is Beth Campbell. Francine, so the Board of Finance already discussed this, and this is what they agreed they were going to give us? Is that how this new number came about?
So this was the spreadsheet that they used last year, and I sent this to Tracy with using this year's numbers. So again, they haven't talked about it yet. They're going to be talking about it tomorrow night because they have to decide how much money they're going to give us because the audit is due December 31st, and I'm counting that we received the 405,705, but there's a possibility that they might not agree with that.
Well, does anyone know what our contract says or our agreement with them? We have that in writing somewhere.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's agreement on specific excess cost. There is a state statute that states that the board has to, prove that they've overspent their budget. Again, I feel that is if we budget gross, say if we budget gross, that would mean that we would increase our budget by the excess cost amount, and the town on their side would also budget a revenue item. So I feel that it's, say if we budgeted gross and then a student moves in, we would have to prove that to get that money back. That extra money shouldn't go to the town at that point. It would go to us. So that's why I feel that it's because we budget net, we should be entitled to the full amount.
Are you able to hear me? One of the things that I want to make sure the board understands is any surplus that we get from gaining more excess cost money than we expected would be going into the non-lapsing or 2% account. And ultimately, it's going to be used to offset some expenditure that we have in the budget. What the town has done over the last few years is they've used their town funds as well as funds that we've had in surplus to buy down the tax increase so that we can increase our budget spending but not increase the cost to the taxpayer. Whether this money goes to the town or goes to us, it's still in the same giant pot of money. The difference is that it's owed to us under the law, and we should have that money and be able to use that money accordingly.
Thank you, Todd. We appreciate your guidance on this, and we will see what happens at the meeting tomorrow night.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
You as well, thank you. All right, so for the rest of the business manager's report, do we have a summary of that?
This is Steve Carr. from the budget committee. They discussed the bid award to Dime Oil. I'll go over numbers on that. Motion to approve the bid award to Dime Oil for number 2 fuel oil and diesel in the following amounts. Number 2 fuel oil at 0.0582 cents. Markup prepayment option. Diesel 0.1317 markup prepayment option.
Sorry I couldn't make the meeting last week. I was in Boston for work, but you know what the current price is? Since this is just the kind of the bid award, right? This isn't this is not locking in the price. So do you know what the current prices are by any chance?
This is just to lock in the markup. It is not for the current prices, but we had I believe the diesel was at 260.
We're at 167 this year,
Right.
locked in, and I know that the highest was 223 was one of the per gallon charges right now if we were to buy it open market.
Right, oil's 220.
Todd, are you still there?
Yep, oil's 223, and again, diesel's about 230-ish.
Hang on one second, Todd. Again?
Todd, could you repeat that?
Yeah, oil's is like 223 and diesel's 229-ish. Did you hear that?
The budget increase?
What's that?
The budget increase?
So the budget increase is probably between 17 and 20,000. If we locked in, right now.
Thank you, Todd.
You're welcome. Again, I put a strike price recommendation at 210. That would be roughly if it comes down 5%. So I did read somewhere that they expect it to come down. So that's, and I think 5% is a realistic mark. We could say $1.80, but I don't think that we're going to see that at all. So that's where I came up with the 210.
Thank you, Todd.
You're welcome.
So to make sure everybody understands, we're just bidding on the markup to lock that in, and we would wait and see where the price of the diesel and the fuel oil goes. Or if we wanted to amend this, we can put in the recommended strike price of 210 like Todd just mentioned.
I think we should put a strike price in it. That's what we're here for.
Okay.
Okay, Dave Calvector will make a motion to approve the bid award to Dime Oil for number 2 fuel oil and diesel in the following amounts. Number 2 fuel oil, 0.0582 markup, and diesel 0.1317 markup. with a strike post of $2.10.
Triglia, second.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, abstain? Okay.
Stephen Carr, make a motion to accept, approve business and finance report and expenditures per policy 3432/3433, business, non-instructional operations, budget and expense report / annual financial statement as presented.
Matt Van Ormer, second.
Questions or discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstain? Thank you.
Stephen Carr, continuing with the policy committee. For item 11.2.2.3, we're going to be discussing or moving for discussion in January on those items. Going down to item 11.2.4.1, the Thomaston Board of Education Policy 6172.3, homeschooling equivalent education under parental discussion. You recommend to move to action item in January. So I would like to make a motion to recommend to move to action item. Nope, not a motion. Just recommending to for our committee. Okay. And then in item 11.2.4.2, the Thomaston Board of Education Policy 5132, students dress and grooming. Per the conversation earlier today in the vote, like to make a motion to fast track the policy approval process per bylaw 9311, specifically to fast track agenda item 11.2.4.2, Thomaston Board of Education Policy 5132, students dress and grooming policy.
Matt Van Ormer, second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, the motion carries, so we can fast track it.
Motion to approve, Stephen Carr, motion to approve Thomaston Board of Education Policy 5132, students dress and grooming as presented in the policy committee report, specifically adding language to align the policy to the CIAC winter sports guidance.
Dave Colacchio, second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Move. Thank you.
Dave Colacchio, make a motion to adjourn and happy holidays, everybody.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. I appreciate your patience during our technical difficulties this evening.